Welcome back, Dog Nation. It has literally been 10 years since Georgia has been ready to welcome in the Crimson Tide into Athens, and I think we're all ready to give them quite a warm welcome, a warm reception. We've all had this game circled on our calendar for quite some time, so let's get into it. My name is Keegan, and my co-host is Chito, and this is another episode of Dogs Off the Leash.
Do it for the dogs. Do it for the dogs. I do it for the dogs. I do it for my dogs. Who you do it for? Who you do it for?
The college football world is buzzing right now.
Georgia Bama is almost always in the last 20 years a heavyweight, big time, top ranked exchange. In fact, this might be the first year in, I don't know, maybe since 2007 or 2006 or something like that. Both of these teams are ranked in the top 10 even. So I'm not completely saying Bama's had a fall off because the season is still so young. And even with their one loss, I think Florida State is a great team, but it is a little bit different. And this is not taking anything away from Bama, so I will caution the statement, but it is a little bit different in that this might be the first time in a while where both of these teams aren't highly ranked top 10, top 5 even matchups. It's kind of like how Bama LSU was for a handful of years. With that, Cheetah, what do you make of this Bama team? And while many people say that Georgia has a Bama problem, others retort it's a Nick Saban issue. How do you feel about this Bama team just off the top?
Well, to start, it's really hard not to dig into the history of these two teams. Really, for the past decade plus, as you've mentioned, Kirby being at Georgia, going back to Kirby being at Alabama with Nick Saban, these two teams have been the standard. I know teams love to talk about the standard all the time, but these two teams exemplify it every year. And this year's really it's different in college football now. You have NIL, you have more parity across the sport, so they're not as dominant. But Georgia, for the most part, has dominated college football for the past 5 years or so. We've beaten every championship contending team. We've bullied a lot of people, to be frank, but Alabama is that one team, that one mental hurdle that we just struggle with. And if you've ever been on a team that struggles with a in city or in region rival, you know what that's like. It's almost like you find ways to psych yourself out. So for Georgia, it's big from a mental standpoint, but for college football, this is two blue bloods going at it once again.
Yeah, to me, it seems like the history goes a little bit deeper with the fans and the coaches, and obviously anybody who played in one of these Bama Georgia games in the last 15, 20 years. But to be frank, on the side of Bama or Georgia, we got a lot of new blood and a lot of transfers from all over the country, and a lot of people that came to Georgia or Bama not necessarily for this matchup, like back in the day where guys would want to go to Georgia to get a chance to be the team that beat Alabama, or go to Bama to beat Georgia, beat the brakes off Georgia in front of everybody. Like, it was one of those things where a more traditional feel, almost kind of like a rivalry, probably in the heyday. But with that, I think that, tradition's not out the window. The bitter taste is definitely still lingering. And even with all the NIL changes, a new face across the bow at Bama, this game still has a lot of the old feel to it. You got a Bama quarterback that stuck around and waited his turn like the old days. You got a diehard Georgia guy that also waited his turn, and he's not necessarily like the flashy quarterback that came in through the portal or whatever. So from the headline standpoint, it kind of looks a lot like the old Georgia Bama matchups, ironically, even with all the changes. But what a pleasure it is to be able to host Bama. I love the idea of these Bama players coming in, not coached by Nick Saban, and getting ready to feel the stress of 93,000 fans barking down at them. And, it's been 10 years. And even though Georgia, statistically, you could not argue, has had a Bama problem in a sense, or Nick Saban problem, whatever you want to call it.
So the last time Alabama came to Georgia was when Kirby Smart was still in Alabama, way back in 2015. I was actually at that game. It was a mud hole. It rained all day, and then we got our faces stomped in. So that was a memorable game, but not for the right reasons. But I wanted to talk about something that you mentioned because there aren't a lot of players that really understand from a playing standpoint, Alabama, Georgia. A lot of them have grown up, being from Georgia or whatever. They know what the rivalry is about, but I think it's going to be even more important this week for players like Micah Morris, Oscar Delp, Daylon Everett, and CJ Allen. The guys that have been around for long enough that know what it's like to lose. We lost last year, 2024, 2023 in the SEC championship game. Not many of them were around thinking about their playing career when this happened, right? When we had the pick six, when we finally overcame Alabama. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe this team doesn't know what it's like to have that mental hurdle. So maybe that helps us, but it's going to be, I think this is a new chapter in Alabama, Georgia that we're going to see for the next few years. Kalen DeBoer got one his first go round, which was good for him. We all know the Ryan Williams situation, but this is a chance for Kirby to kind of turn the page in this new rivalry with the new SEC 9-game schedule. And we're going to play them more often, hopefully at home more often. But yeah, it's a new day in this rivalry, so to speak. What's it going to take now when the scales are more even with NIL, right? We've seen upsets. We've seen, it's a smaller talent gap. What's it going to take now for Georgia to pull this off? Is home field advantage all that we're going to need to get this done?
It's like the last game we played against Tennessee.
Yeah.
All they could really ask for is to make it that close. They had a chance to beat Georgia with a field goal. They didn't kick the field goal. So, all you can really ask for is to be put in those situations. And I'd agree that, like, in the last handful of years, on paper, Bama has still edged us in recruiting some of those years still. From the basic rankings thing, they don't mean everything. But Georgia has shown that they have potentially edged Bama in development, coaching on the field, and continuing to build a culture, which is why I wrote that article, A Tale of Two Cultures, kind of getting into has Bama lost its steam a little bit? And there's no way you can't argue that they haven't, right? Just based on the very, very high bar that Nick Saban set. If you walked in and placed what's happening at Bama right now, say with Washington, where Kalen DeBoer came from, or Arizona State, hell, Florida would love to be in Bama's shoes right now with like their type of season and their seasonal outlook.
Yeah, the expectations really does set a bar, so to speak.
Exactly. So, we kind of look at all these problems, quote unquote, with the Nick Saban lens of like literal next to perfection. And even Nick Saban probably saw that, hey, I'm not going to be able to continue this level of dominance no matter how good I got. And by the way, I'm getting older. I have less energy. Everybody's always trying to pluck the Nick Saban coordinators, to get the Nick Saban secrets like they're sous chefs under Emeril Lagasse or something, So I just think that Bama is in a tricky situation, just like all teams. Like last year, Jalen Milroe was kind of the best worst thing happening for Bama. When he was on, he was killing it, but then he was also a liability where it's like, well, dang guys, I think we'd be better off with one of our backup QBs in this situation. When you come into a team and you inherit a culture and you have like a senior leader like Jalen Milroe, it's not going to go over well with the culture and the team when you bench him. So Kalen DeBoer was kind of put in a pickle there. And now this year, it's like really the talent was more trendy for last season outside of QB. And now this season, he's kind of like got even higher expectations because they didn't make the playoffs last year. So it's just like a tough world being a Bama fan. And it's really not fair to Kalen DeBoer. He's not like a bad coach by any means, but the things I see that I do have a problem with that I kind of touched on in the article is that like the locker room, the body language, the lack of discipline, these things are stark contrast in comparison to how Nick Saban did things. And how he did things was a big part of why he was successful. So, you can have a more laissez-faire, less discipline, kind of like a Lane Kiffin approach, but even Lane Kiffin dials in the details somewhere. So maybe that's how you want to do it, but you can just put up 50 points on everyone and so be it. But the type of thing that affects a locker room is what do you do when you get punched in the mouth? And if you can just go score 50 points on a bunch of nobody schools, but when you get punched in the mouth, kind of like Bama did on the road against Florida State, and you can't respond, that's the type of thing that, coaching, mental, discipline, focus, those things do play a factor. It's not just like coach speaky things to put on posters in weight rooms. Like those things matter. And Georgia has shown time and time again, including last year against Bama, that they can come back, they can respond. You saw what they did against Tennessee. So, what is going to happen when Georgia puts a hobnail boot or a fist on the jaw or whatever analogy you want when Bama is actually tested on the road? I'm not saying they won't do it. Bama's a great team, but from what I've seen of the personal medal, I've been like personally disappointed. Bama used to be not just the thorn in Georgia's side, but the envy of college football, and a lot of it came from the excellence that came with Nick Saban. Nick Saban's not there to save them, so they're going to need some of that excellence if they're going to pull off a W come Saturday night.
Yeah, and for Kalen DeVore, it's not really all of his fault. He inherited a situation, an impossible situation, and I said when it happened, you never want to be the guy after the guy, right? It's just Kirby, as good as Kirby is, he took Georgia from good to great. If Nick Saban would have been doing what he was doing at Georgia and then we got Kirby, we probably would be a little bit disappointed. A little bit. Like again, it's about the perspective. The grass is greener, yada yada yada. But and to Kalen DeBoer's credit, this is a chance for him to kind of start his own chapter. Can he break his habit of not being great on the road versus Kirby, who's been excellent at home at Georgia? It's a tall task. Kirby is actually 17-0 in night games in Sanford Stadium. So that bodes really well for Georgia. So again, this is a completely new chapter. As fans, we're going to want to hang on to the past stories, but they're not going to serve you well moving forward because so much has changed from that saga that we've seen before. We almost kind of got through it with that one dub, and then Nick Saban got us before he left. So that's kind of over. So it's a whole new thing.
In the words of Lee Corso, I got to hit you with the not so fast because even though we might have gotten over the hump against Bama, we won the Natty, all those things are great.
Yeah.
I still have the wounds. I still take this shit personal, Chito. And to me, even though Bama has had our number, and even if we went back and forth the next handful of years with us winning some, them winning some, to me, it's not really over until Bama has gotten a taste not of just Georgia, but of Athens. Because to me, even though Georgia's taken many L's against Bama, I feel like it was Athens that let Bama get away with one when they came in here in 2008 against the blackout. Now, we're both wearing black. If Kirby wants a blackout, do it. But the point being is they came into Athens and just saw a crowd kind of give up. The crowd was too soft, if anything. So I want to just see Bama actually have to face the hostility of all the fans, of just coming to Athens. Like, y'all have had our number all these years without having to do the thing that.
And I'll take that kind of personal too, bro. I was here in 2008 and in 2015. So I was a part of that. So, and it's true. We just, it's hard to put a finger on what it was, but I mean, you kind of make a good point, man.
They didn't just come in, Chito, and win. They came
Oh,
in
yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
me, actually, I'll be honest, like a win is not going to cut it for me. I'll be happy with a win. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'll be
I don't
happy.
know. I might be asking for a little much, but
Oh, no.
I get what you're saying. You want vengeance.
Yeah.
You want vengeance for all the pain that they've done to us. I don't know if we're gonna get that. What it reminds me of is, and I think you had mentioned you were watching some high school football back in the day. I went to Northwest High School, and our rival was Dalton High School, right? And I don't know what it was, but every time that week came up or that game came up, players make uncharacteristic mistakes. Coaches are trying to do the most with their game plans and getting out of themselves and being cute. I remember I had a fumble in one of the games, and it still kind of bothers me. And it's just something about that hurdle, right? You see it in sports, whether it's in the NBA with Michael Jordan, LeBron holding down the East and teams can't beat them. You see it now in the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens and the Bills. They can't beat Patrick Mahomes. So it's just something that we're going to have to get done. And I want to inflict some pain on Bama, but for the sake of the rest of the season, it's just about getting that win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for the sake of the season, get the win. I'll totally be happy. I will be,
And the bragging rights.
yeah, all of that. But for vengeance, I'm gonna need a stomping. Like Bama is just due for a stomping. They need a 3 touchdown loss against UGA just to shut them up, so they can't just always talk about the times they kicked their ass on the road, which they can.
Before I would have saw the injury report come out, I would have felt a lot more confident. But when you got players coming back on the D line like Tim Keenan, when you've got Jam Miller, who has personally been the reason we've lost to them at least twice. I feel a lot less comfortable, but these guys are coming off injury. I don't expect them to pick it up and be all SEC, all American players from the jump. So, and we have some players coming back on the offensive line too. So it really is a toss up type of game right now, man. I've been trying to rack my brain of what's going to be the biggest advantage. And outside of these little light up wrist bracelets that they got now for the home game, it's tough, man. It's tough. But yeah, what do you got?
Well, I'm glad that Bama's players are back and healthy because as soon as we beat Bama,
Absolutely.
you guys missing, all we're gonna hear about is how so and so was hurt, and after
Yeah.
they had Jam Miller,
Yeah, saying they're still doing it with the wide receivers.
they still are doing it, and that's the truth of the story. So just so there's no
No,
confusion,
that's facts. That is facts. That would have impacted the game. That would have impacted the game. That's fair.
it would have. So I can't go heal people. I'm not a healer. I can't send vibrations to heal your wide receivers so we win fair and square. But at the same time, like they weren't blocking that pass rush. They didn't throw that interception. So what do you want?
But
What do
if
you
we say Lad McConkey and Brock Bowers went 100% during the SEC championship, oh, get out of
Right,
here.
right. Who
Oh, stop it.
exactly.
You never beat us. 1 and
Yeah.
6.
That's
So,
stinking thinking. We're just talking like losers, getting in the margins of who, what, when, and
yeah,
why. You're making
yeah.
excuses. Just fucking
Yeah,
eat
yeah,
it
you're right.
like we ate it. But yeah, Bama has a great team, and I think, like you said, they're getting a really talented lineman back in Tim Keenan. But whoever is on this offensive line, I hope we just communicate better. I know we got some injuries. I think what Ernest Green is out, correct, Cheeto? Juan
Yeah, it sounded
Gaston.
like Ernest Green is out, but Juan Gaston sounds like he's going to get to play. So, do they put Bo Hewley at the right tackle, or do you go ahead and put Glover at right guard and slide Gaston out at tackle? So, I'm interested to see that as well. That's going to be big.
Well, to me, it's like, what is the best gel? I mean, all these guys are talented in isolation, but that is not how the offensive line works. So who
Right.
who has been killing it in practice as a tandem? Like that's the kind of thing I wanted to know. I know when I did play offensive line, that's what it was all about. I had a dude playing beside me, Justin. He ended up playing at Furman, but we would just maul people, and that right side was like unstoppable for a little bit there. So it's really about like who do you have some kind of chemistry with, and who can you coordinate with?
Talking offenses in general, what do you think about the change up between Milrow last year and having a just a legend quarterback with running back abilities versus Ty Simpson, who Kirby has already commented is the hottest quarterback in college football right now, and Ryan Williams. We saw what Brazel did for Tennessee against us: 3 circus catches, 3 touchdowns. Obviously, if Ryan Williams has that type of day, Alabama can win this game outright, maybe even, blow us out. What are you seeing from that combination from Alabama's offense, or what do you expect?
Well, that's the thing. It's like anybody that has just sat back and played zone against them has just gotten eaten alive. So there's no doubt that if we play a more bend, don't break, very passive form of defense, we're going to get eaten up down the field. Like there's just no doubt about it, especially if we don't bring a pass rush. So yeah, we got to make Ty Simpson uncomfortable. He's shown when he can just sit back and do what he wants against any defense, he's going to pick you apart. So he's killing it. He's gone 17 to 17 in one game. He's had very high efficiency, but those were against lesser opponents. Even Wisconsin did not show up. And Florida State is a much more similar team to Georgia. And I think that kind of opens up what we can do to them on the offensive side of the football is use some of these midline runs that Florida State used against Bama that were so successful. But it really opened up the field. And Bama, even when they got in position, they just could not do enough to get in front of pulling guards and blockers and just seemed lost out there for like easy 7, 8 yard gains. So we don't have to have a 100-yard rushing game with Gunnar Stockton, but if we can just find ways to implement that and keep them on their toes, because you could really describe what Florida State did in many different ways, but the main variable is they just kept Bama guessing, reverses, all these things just to kind of keep Bama unaware, and they had no answer for it.
Yeah, and I want to harp on that because I think that is got to be your game plan. You've got to be watching all of that Florida State film. Mind you, there was really a lot of weather that probably slowed down Bama to a degree. Florida State gets on top of them, and it's really hard for them to come back. But Gunner can do all the same type of things. You can do some counter stuff. You can pull like whether you do a jet sweep, you can do that. I want to see Bobo do some more of the fake bubble, a lot of the eye candy stuff because Alabama's linebackers have struggled when it comes to recognizing plays and misdirections and things like that. And if we can do that enough, something's going to give, something's going to pop. And then about Gunner, I was listening to Dog Nation the other day, and I thought they had actually a great conversation when it comes to quarterbacks that have played in this rivalry. We think about Jake Fromm and we think about Carson Beck, right? Good quarterbacks, but not great quarterbacks. And a lot of it has to do with not getting over the hump, which for Georgia means running into Alabama at some point, right? And then we think about Matthew Stafford, the overtime game that you posted on the TikTok. I still remember that game and how exciting that dime was. First play of overtime, Bobo, Stafford, and then Stetson Bennett and all the plays that he made against Alabama. The throws to A.D. Mitchell, he had some snafus, but he made play after play after play. And Stetson's and Matthew Stafford are virtually legends as far as Georgia quarterbacks. Can Gunner add to his legacy by having a huge game, by making a big play? I know it's early in his quarterback career at Georgia, but he already has the Knoxville knockout on that 4th and 6, 2-point conversion, an impossible comeback against Tennessee. Can he take a step towards the Matthew Staffords, towards the Stetson Bennett's? If you can do it in a game like this, yes, it's at home, and yes, you're slightly favored, but for Georgia fans, you beat Alabama, and you are that guy. No questions asked.
Yeah, and totally earned too if you do that. And the thing I'd like to see from Gunner is he has the ability to step up and be aggressive and command the offense in a way that just does not grow on trees. But with that, he's been aggressive at times and gotten lucky that several passes have not been intercepted. And that's something that when you're in the haze of the victory and you're just excited about a Knoxville knockout play, which was a beautiful pass. I mean, like perfect. But that also overshadows some of the mistakes that were made that he got away with in that game, where the types of plays where defenders are just pounding the ground because they think they should have picked him off. So he's aggressive. He's gotten lucky with how he's used his aggression, and Gunner's a baller, no doubt about it. But I just want to see him be smart and not need Lady Luck to be on his side like it has been so far, because just like Joey Aguilar, watching his tape just long enough, he had some good passes, but I said, like, this dude will throw a wild ball like no other, also. And he sure did. And it costed Tennessee. So Gunner is still learning, but we're at home. I like it.
And I'll be honest with you too. I'm actually not really concerned with Gunner. Now, this is going to be more of a test because I think every defensive coordinator understands if you play man against Gunner, you're going to struggle. He can make throws against one-on-one coverage. And as a running quarterback, he can take off too. He's very comfortable in that situation. So expect him to disguise a lot of looks and bring a lot of zone blitzes, right? And really make Gunner have to pick them apart. So that is going to be interesting. I think we're going to see Gamer Gunner for the rest of the season. Can he do it when Georgia needs it the most? That's really what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I think if we can learn from the Tennessee game, one thing that worked really well from us is how we used Josh McCray in the red zone and just in short yardage situations. So I'd like to see more Josh McCray. The reason Georgia hasn't won a lot of these games hasn't been Nick Saban or even necessarily like when it was super competitive. Who cares about the 4 stars and 5 stars on the bench? Like, the players that needed to make the plays have to step up on the defensive side of the football. there were several times where dudes were just falling down. We can't necessarily play bend don't break against Bama. We're going to need that extra high level athleticism that we have to be able to compete. So, sometimes that means getting in a position to not go for the pick, but to go for the tackle.
PBU's fine.
Right, right. We have guys to play defense, but if we get a little bit too cute, like somewhere in between playing too soft and then going for the pick every time, we're going to have to just stay with our man. And Ryan Williams will eat us alive, but Jeremy Bernard is really their weapon. He's the guy that is leading the charge right now, and he's more dependable. He's a better blocker.
He's their Dylan Bell, for
Yeah,
lack of a better term.
a better Dylan Bell slightly, and he's a little bit more in favor with the fan base and the media because Ryan Williams came into this season with 1,000 podcast episodes, a lot of TikToks, and then he was missing on blocks, not making plays, dropping passes, and the fan base was pissed and they're like, okay, we've had enough. So he deleted all that shit off his social media, locked in, and tried to present himself with a more serious outlook. On the other hand, Jeremy Bernard is all business, comes in, head down, lays the block, makes the plays. So he's really their guy we got to slow down. And, I want to see some of these dangerous weapons that we've talked about in this offseason, the Elo Medozis, the Gabe Harrises. Which one of these edge rushers is going to step up? Chito, who would you like to see make an impact on the defensive side, especially in the front seven? Because I think we need some answers there.
Yeah, Chris Cole's going to be the guy that I'm counting on. When you're talking about Jeremy Bernard and how dependable he is, Chris Cole is that for me for this defense. I can put him anywhere that I want to and know that he's going to produce. He doesn't waste steps on his pass rush. If we can get him in that backfield to slow down Ty Simpson, we should have a lot of success. That's the number one name that I'm looking for. I don't have to guess. I don't have to worry. Is he going to get home? Is he going to do what I ask him to? I trust him. And that's what you need in a matchup like this, where anxiety is a little bit higher, where uncharacteristic mistakes tend to happen. The trustworthy guys, Chris Cole.
Yeah, I like that answer. So I think Georgia, well coached and disciplined, can come in Sanford Stadium, do some knockout punches. And some of those look like what can happen on special teams. We've had impeccable special teams the last few years, especially. Bama, on the other hand, has taken a downturn there, probably more than anywhere. I've seen them muff a punt this year. I've seen them give up a kick return against Wisconsin for a touchdown. That was one of Wisconsin's only scores against Bama. So there's opportunities and matters in the margins. So let's see if special teams can have anything to do with it. And Zachariah Branch is an elite returner. So can we unleash the Branch? Can we unleash Josh McCray? Just some of these guys that have been on a roster that we've been so excited for. And yeah, it's going to be a good one. Chito, I want revenge, bro. I don't care about a realistic necessarily score, but I think when you're on the road and the momentum is going against you, things get lopsided. We've seen it firsthand. We fought back, but it takes a resilient team. So give me Georgia winning big. I'll get us up 37-17 against Bama, and it's a little closer early on, and then we pull away.
Nice, nice. I think it's going to take a second for players on both sides to really understand how good the other team is. A lot of people don't think so, but I think Alabama and Georgia are almost mirror images of each other, offensively and defensively. Quarterbacks, front seven, secondary, the thinking and the methodology of how each team wants to win games, that is different. But the roster is very similar. I think Georgia is really going to employ the running game the way they talked about in the offseason. I think we try to grind Alabama into the dirt. The Tim Keenan character, the D line, he's going to have to hold up with that tightrope ankle surgery. He's going to have to hold up because we're going to pound away at that. They're missing a linebacker. Our running game, I think, really sets us apart. You've got Gunnar Stockton using his legs. You've got play action ability. I think it's going to go down to the wire. And I think Georgia, with the home crowd behind them, just roaring all night long, I think we find a way to get a win by a field goal late. I'm going to go Georgia over Alabama 30-27.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I think Alabama mirrors Georgia in almost so many of their rooms, but like you mentioned, the running back room, and I'd also add the tight end room. I feel like we have clear edges there. And, great wide receiver rooms, great quarterback rooms, linebackers, defensive line. Like,
Yeah.
it's all a wash, honestly. Like, when you look at the type of playmakers, the type of on paper stats, but I think Georgia has clear advantages in those two rooms. So hopefully we can lean on the advantages because you have to lean on your advantages. So very excited. Just like it's easy to overdo Georgia Bama as a coach or put too much energy into practice as the players, it's easy to want to overdo it as a podcast. So me and Chito have learned to hold back more and more because we both have so many good points and things we've thought of that we want to talk about. But hey, shout out to Dog Nation at large, and you guys definitely be rowdy. So some of these, hopefully my score prediction's right. I'm sure y'all would like that. I'm sure y'all are rooting for mine. Cheeto's gone with the intellectual score prediction this week. I think it's pretty accurate. But Cheeto, we've been going hard in the paint. We needed a week off. We rested up. I wouldn't say we no showed because my heart is always on Georgia football, but we took the week off. So we will have Sunday Scaries, a live stream to recap at some point, which I will post about on social media. The simulations are a toss up, especially with Jam Miller back. So that adds a wrinkle there. And of course, we have our legendary pick six this week. So many great games. Cheeto, who are you looking forward to watching?
Okay, so obviously outside of Georgia Bama, which everybody's going to be watching, I think there are several good games, but the first one I think people are going to be locked into. We all want to see what Penn State actually is. Penn State always gets talked up, but we never really see them do it, right? James Franklin's got a prove it game against Oregon. Penn State at home with the wideout. I'm going to go with number 3 Penn State. I think Drew Aller's the real deal, and I want to see them actually do something for once.
Yeah, I expect Oregon to actually show up, not be blanked in a big game. And I know Oregon's going to push Penn State here, but I actually think Oregon will take the step forward. It's unfortunate because both teams are kind of vying for the next best team in the Big Ten. Great game. Let's see. We got Auburn traveling to number 9 Texas A&M. Now Auburn had the one loss. Texas A&M undefeated in a top 10 position. Cheeto, who do you like there?
Something tells me that karma is going to be on Auburn's side. After they got robbed, they should have beaten Oklahoma, was it? They should have beaten them. They got really got hosed with some bad calls from the refs. I think Auburn really does have a good team. I'm still really scared about that game on the road. I think Auburn gets their lick back, takes down Texas A&M. I'm going for it. I'm calling the upset.
Dude, I think it's going to be a close game. Auburn will push Texas A&M, but I think that Texas A&M takes that one. And then probably the biggest game outside of Georgia Alabama, and honestly, a higher ranked game than Georgia Alabama. You got number 4 LSU at number 13 Ole Miss. I like LSU to come in there and win, but Ole Miss looks nasty, and they're starting their transfer quarterback this week instead of the guy that made good plays against Georgia as a freshman last year, which is kind of a kind of a change of events for Ole Miss. So, Cheeto, who do you like in that one?
Yeah, this one's kind of a wild card. You've got the new quarterback at play, and you also have one of the linebackers for LSU dating Lane Kiffin's daughter from Ole Miss. So I don't know how that plays into it, but I kind of want to pick Ole Miss just for that simple fact. But I think LSU and that linebacker and that defensive half might get it together and pull out an impressive win at the Grove. Give me LSU here. I'm going with the Tigers.
I think some stolen signs might be into play. He's over at their
Something's
house.
going down. Something's
He's,
going down.
he's over at their house. Like, I gotta use the bathroom again. He's like walking around coach's office looking at. So anyway, that'll be a good one. I think LSU gets the win there, but definitely going to be an entertaining matchup. Number 21 USC at number 23 Illinois. I think USC is actually looking more like the real deal. Illinois got exposed against Indiana. I mean,
big time, big time.
And I think they've played tough and shown some good things with Brett Bielema. Like everything you said sounded right to me, and I kind of felt the same way. But Indiana with Kurt Signetti, dude looks like he's got that Nick Saban mentality, just like up 55 points, stone face. So I like USC to come out with a win in this one. Chito, who do you like?
I'm going USC as well. That Illinois thumping just really is stuck in my mind. And until they kind of wash that one off the palate, I'm going to go with whoever they're playing if it's a decent team, which USC has shown to be.
Hell yeah. Well, our last game here in the Pick Six, number 15 Tennessee, who is ranked much higher in my poll. I think they're a better team than that, but they're traveling to a red hot Mississippi State, who is got the cowbells fired up and ready. It's a 4 p.m. game, but I am sure that it will be hell on the road. Cheeto, will it be enough to upset a Tennessee team that still has playoff hopes?
Yeah, I'm going to go with this with the same reasoning that you're going with. I think Tennessee showed a lot, even in the loss to Georgia. The quarterback, Joey Aguilar, is most people regard him now as like one of the top 5 or top 3 quarterbacks in the country. Mississippi State has been playing well. I think this is a really sneaky good game. But defense, offense, and the momentum that Tennessee has right now, I'm going to take them over Mississippi State. But I want to see Mississippi State kind of gain some confidence from a game like this. See if they can really hang with the upper tier teams in the SEC.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. Mississippi State pushing Tennessee. I think Tennessee comes out with the W, but like you said, sneaky entertaining and a lot of great games. Georgia's got a big one. We're hoping we can show some hostility to Bama when they come between the
Oh,
hedges.
yeah.
Very overdue. So the dogs will be barking. I'll be barking. We will celebrate heavy Sunday, or we will have a true Sunday Scaries edition.
Yeah,
a more
there's no way
scary
around it. It'll be pure bliss or it'll be the same old, same old. I'm kind of just ready to kind of just unseat them in a regular season game. Get that monkey off the back. Not a high pressure moment, but it's just like, hey, Georgia fans, you've been out here with your chest puffed out. Are you who you say you are? So this is an opportunity to do that. I trust Kirby. I trust the captain of the ship, and we'll see if we can get it done.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
As always, guys, we appreciate you tapping in. Huge game this weekend. Whether you're wearing black, silver breeches, or red, the Dogs are going to get it done. Keegan, I always appreciate you. Make sure you guys check us out wherever you get your podcast, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And as always, guys, you know what it is.